Well, good afternoon, everyone. Jedi Rich here. So I've been getting a lot of questions lately about, like, hey man, what's your deal with grass-fed beef? Like, why are you, I mean, even from the butchers a little bit. Like, we've gone to every butcher, well, not every butcher, but every organic butcher, every butcher that carried organic ground beef, and some that didn't, in Manhattan. Ones who carried organic ground beef had the 100% grass-fed. We tried it out. We determined that some are better than others. They all taste different because they use different cows. Some are Angus. Some they have like 30 different cows that they can use besides Angus. I'm learning all this as I go. But here's the deal. So, like, the butchers don't even really understand why the Jedi are so obsessed with grass-fed beef. And the reason is simple. It's because, well, actually it's not simple. I have to kind of back up and explain some things. Look at this guy. He wasn't even on the camera, and now he is.
Pinga, what do you want? You hear me?
I don't even know what you're talking about. I don't understand. I can't hear.
No camera on my face.
I wasn't even taking your picture. Why would I take your picture? I was talking to myself, dude.
Okay.
Look, it's a selfie. Why would I take your picture? You think you're more important than you really are. This guy thinks he's so important that I would take his picture. Why would I take your fucking picture? You're disgusting. We just do that because he's an asshole. Anyways, as I was saying, there are certain people, like, I wasn't even taking the guy's picture. I'm doing a blog. He thinks he's so important. Look at the way he's dressed. He's actually yelling. He put himself on camera to say, don't put me on camera. He wasn't even, I wouldn't even notice the guy. I could give a shit.
Stop provocating people.
Right? Seriously. I know it. It's ridiculous. Fucking assholes going around yelling at people that don't even know what they're talking about. Riding their little bicycles. He has to interject because he's so uptight. Here's how it works, buddy. Let me share with you how it works. Is that when you walk around with a camera, you're in public. This is Midtown Manhattan. This is a tourist district. This is public. I am doing a personal broadcast to myself. That guy in the yellow shirt was so attracted to me, was so jealous, that I could actually stand up and speak for myself. That he had to ride on his bicycle and say, hey, stop antagonizing people. Stop, and he biked away. Did you see that? He biked away. He came over to antagonize me on his bicycle as he rode away. Well, I turned around and faced the man who was accusing me of filming him because I wasn't filming him. He was accusing me of something I wasn't doing. Why should I take that? Because he said so? He doesn't own these streets. And while you might not think this is important, but that guy's standing there in a tourist district with his shit all over the place, blocking traffic, thinking to himself that he is above the United States government. Now that I have a problem with. All I can think of. Because if you're an American, the reason why you're here is because we have the freedom of press. We have the freedom to walk in public, and I can talk to you and say whatever I want. That guy barely speak English. Serious issues where he wanted everybody to see what he was about. He didn't expect that I was going to turn around and challenge him. So does that mean that I shouldn't stand up for myself? Should that mean that I should not stand up for everybody else who has to walk by this man who's dressed like a piece of shit? telling me that cameras are not allowed. This is New York fucking City. Radio City. Cameras aren't allowed. My fucking ass. You know what's not allowed? Tyranny. That's not allowed. Now, well, I would like to go, you know, wrestle that guy and get real aggressive with him and cause all sorts of problems because he's just a dick. I won't, because he has an opinion. He thinks that I shouldn't be able to film him. I don't give a fuck what he thinks. I think that he should suck his mother's dick. Does that mean he should go do that? He probably would. It's probably half of his fucking problem. Anyways, this whole scope got messed up because of that guy. I was gonna talk about grass-fed beef. And now, we're talking about that turd. So, let's see. Where was I? What a piece of shit. There he is. I'm sorry, I just can't stand guys like that. He literally has all this shit out on the fucking street, makes this tourist district look terrible. I mean, people are eating. You have shops here, TD Waterhouse. You have subway trains, visitors coming here, and he's making this sidewalk look like shit. Sorry, that bugs me. But I allow it. I let it happen. I don't want to pass a law that says he can't do that. I don't want to say, hey, he's not allowed to do that. I'm just telling you I don't like it. But just because I don't like it doesn't mean that I have to say something to him or dislike him at all. Although now that I know him, I don't like him. What I know about him is that he's a person who thinks that people want to take his photo. You know, here I am, obviously doing a blog about myself in a public space, and he thinks I'm talking about him. We're talking about what? Grass-fed beef. You guys ready for who wants to talk about grass-fed beef now? I do. The reason grass-fed beef is so fucking important is because this. Is because cows that are fed grains are obese. Plain and simple. They feed cows grains, specifically corn and soy or whatever, because it makes them obese fast, really fast. Just like the way corn and soy and vegetarian food make humans obese fast. What they give them is, they get something called intramuscular fat when you eat all that corn that fast. So that means inside their muscles you'll see you'll see fat, white. They call it marbling, like it's a good thing. The reason why they call it marbling like it's a good thing is because back in 1920 or 1910 or whenever the USDA started grading meat, they wanted to figure out a way for them to sell more beef. And what they found is that humans tended to like things that were fattier. So they found that the cows that were really fat and had a lot of fat in their muscles were really greasy, but it was also very tender and easy to eat. But you know, the humans, they didn't, back in 1920, they weren't concerned about losing weight. They were all pretty thin back then still. You know, I think the idea was to gain weight, but for the most part, you know, it was a different deal. So what happened is the USDA started grading beef in different levels. So the number one way you can grade beef would be prime beef. Prime is the number one way that you grade beef. So that's the number one grade of beef. The lowest is cutter or canner or commercial, and that's beef that is too, what do you call it? It's tough, it's rough, it's got too much texture on it. I'm gonna take a seat here. It has too much, what do you call it? A lot of people, people are kind of aggressive out here, whatever. But we got a lot of, so I'm just checking everybody out. It's kind of a crazy day. I'll show you what I'm looking at. Now I should show you guys what I'm looking at. They all think I'm filming them. That's the funny thing. When you hold up a camera, everybody thinks you're filming them. Right? And that makes sense. Because in this woman's life, the most important person to her is her. Nobody else matters. This person is just kind of an accessory. And that person, the most important person to her is her. Same with this person, and same with that person, and same with every person here. So when I shine a camera out there, every one of them thinks it's on them. Now what's interesting are the ones that react. Because you're in New York City, there are cameras everywhere. You can't walk 10 feet without like these police cams. I mean, you're constantly on camera. Sorry, I'm hearing people yelling, so I feel some aggression coming. Kind of hear it's happening everywhere. It's rush hour in New York. Some lady's calling some dude on a bicycle an asshole. It's like people just kind of getting in people's businesses, you know what I'm saying? And it's just funny how certain people think that they can do that. Anyways, everyone thinks that they're the most important person, but when you scan your camera, in this case, I'm not even looking at them. I'm looking at me. You guys are looking at me. But all these people are here are reacting differently because they think it's on them. Now, the ones that come up to me and say, "Why are you filming me?" You have to wonder, like, why not just move on? No one, even if I was filming you, chances are me noticing would be slim to none, right? I mean, there's like, look how many people are around. You're not the only person out here, but they think they are. So that's fine, but you get a real quick, what do you call it? It's almost like if you had a pet scam for character personality traits, or for character, for how deep, if a person is a good person or not, or just what kind of are they chill, are they uptight, are they up to something? This would be the way to do it. You just scan them and you look at the ones that get real nervous when you got the camera on, because they're like, why are they filming me? Do they know that I just came out of the bathroom and I was throwing up? Do they know that I just stole something out of that store? Do they know that I just cheated? Why are they? Were they hired by my ex-wife? Like, who knows what's going through their fucking mind? But whatever it is, it's guilt. It's something that they did that only they know. That only the camera reveals that they have a secret. That's what it tells me. And I've been doing this for years. I just film people just to get their reactions sometimes. And, I would say 9 times out of 10, depending on where you're at, most people are just like, whatever, why is the guy filming me? Or they just kind of continue and realize, hey man, the guy's doing a blog or doing something. I mean, come on, it's 2021. It's not unusual for people to be making movies in tourist districts. So that's not an uncommon sight. But the ones that are like, wait a minute, why is this guy filming me? It's like, dude, I don't fucking know who you are. So the guy on the street today was a perfect example of how a lot of people are on the inside. They think that, they've done something wrong. Obviously that guy had done something wrong where he was so great. He was going to spit on me, which, just so you know, spitting and cocking a spit is considered assault. He was cocking a spit at me, right? In this day and age of COVID and AIDS and every other nasty virus, with that street guy threatening to spit on me, that was an act of violence. Now, that's why I responded the way I did, okay, with non-violence, but with aggressiveness. You watch back what happened. I stood my ground in public, because he thought that I wouldn't. He thought I was just a tourist just gonna back down. But no, I stood in public and let him come up to me and threaten to spit on me. I was ready for him to spit on me. I've had worse. But he didn't spit on me. Probably because he could tell that I was gonna fucking kill him if he did. I don't know what I would have done. I don't know. You have to care what you say on YouTube, but everything is censored these days, you guys. I can only say so much. But yeah, I don't know what I would have done if some fucking dude spit on me. threaten my life with COVID, what would you do? What would you do if some guy came up to you and you were just walking down the street doing a blog like I am, and he thinks you're filming him? So he says, hey, you piece of shit tourist, you're not allowed to film me, and spits on you. What would you do if that happened? Fortunately, it didn't happen. Do you know why it happened? Because I stood my ground. You guys saw it. Everybody started seeing what everybody was watching. So then all of a sudden this force of power, he realizes like, wow, he's not the sole power, like I'm challenging him. And a lot of people are going to say, what's going to happen? So if he spits on me, you see, there would have been an issue. Anyways, oh man, this shit just cracks me up, these people. You know, and you know what? Here's the thing. There's only a certain type of people, and I'm not gonna go anywhere with this, but you guys take it for what you want. But I find that it seems like certain members of certain cultures, of certain races, tend to think that cameras are not illegal, or cameras are illegal, and that you can't film them. I only find it with particular races for some reason. Other people, you know, it's like they kind of get it, you know. But certain cultures, it's like I don't know if they're taught that or what. But I'm here to tell you that if you're standing in public, if you're on a public street, and someone has the camera and you're in America, that it is presumed that you're going to be filmed. I mean, that's just the way it is. Now, it's not like that in other countries. So, I can't say that for there. But here, that's the case. Now, if you use a person's image and you post it on a billboard and you get some commercial, you know, you make some commercial benefits, you can expect to have to get sued, pay that person, you know, or if you took their picture and made fun of them and defamed them or something, you know, who knows, there's other legalities there. But I would say in general, just taking photos and just filming is allowed in public. For now, so I'm doing it. Okay, so the reason why you don't want to eat grass-fed beef, the reason why you don't want to eat grain-fed beef is because grain-fed beef is designed to be fatter. It's designed to be fatter, and if you look at the beef that's in grocery stores, you look at the conventional beef, and when they say conventional, what they mean pasture-raised. When they say pasture-raised, they mean grain-fed. When they mean grain-fed, what they mean are GMO crops of soy, corn, or whatever grains that they can find. But it's vegetarian, of course, because they're, you know, cows don't eat meat. But they basically just stuff them with this high calorie food that gets them really fat super fast. So the farmers make a ton of money. They sell more cows. But the issue is that eating an obese cow is not good for you. It's got too much fat. While you might think marbling is what you look for in meat, it is not. Marbling is what the USDA told the farmers to look for in meat 100 years ago, to make the meat taste better and more tender for the consumer. So they boosted their agricultural sales after they World War I or World War II, all that stuff. But that was 100 years ago. Now we know today, hey man, you can't have all that fat. You can't eat filet mignons every single night and expect to be healthy just because it's keto. No, you have to limit your fat to about 20%. So 20% of your overall intake should be fat, 80% protein if you want to lose weight. If you go higher than 20% of your overall calories, what's going to happen is you're going to start to gain weight. You're going to start to get chubby. And I just did a blog on my website about it. You can check it out, JediRich.com. And I posted a picture of myself like after 1 week of eating 80-20% beef versus 90-10. Now, when we say 80-20% lean beef to fat, we're not talking about what I just talked about. We're talking about a ratio before of calorie of what we're eating, like 80% protein to 20% fat and 0% carbohydrates. We don't do sugar here. Why don't we do carbohydrates? You guys remember? Right, because it's proven that carbohydrates, that sugar, is the cause of the throat cancer, of the stomach cancer, of the breast cancer, of all this cancer down here. The stuff people are saying, oh yeah, everything. No, not everything causes cancer. Sugar and caffeine cause your body to release excess insulin, which then cause the cancer we're talking about. So insulin is proving to be what causes all that breast cancer stuff. Now, what causes the prostate cancer, I'm not sure. But they do know that it is sugar related. It has to do with eating too much sugar. So, if they say that eating sugar will rot your teeth, which it does, I know, because I lost a couple. And now I don't even go to the dentist. Because why? I don't eat sugar. So no sugar, no dentist. No sugar, no cancer. Okay, no one wants to hear that. No one wants to hear the simple answer is that if you have cancer and you want it to go away, you stop eating sugar. You stop drinking caffeine. You stop eating donuts. But nobody wants to hear that. Why? Because they're addicted to sugar. They're addicted to caffeine. It's kind of like telling an alcoholic, hey man, what you need to do in order to solve your problems is stop drinking. They'd be like, oh, great idea. They can't do it. So what they'll do is they'll deny it. They'll deny they're an alcoholic. They'll deny that maybe even alcohol is bad for them. They'll even come up with studies showing where alcohol might be healthy. I've seen it. I've seen it, man. I've seen it in these AA meetings, man. They'll do anything. Oh yeah, I went to AA. It was just, AA was like, it's like modern day, like what do you call it? Spanish Inquisition. Do you confess that you are an alcoholic and your life has become unmanageable? Do you admit that there's only one power that can relieve you from this? You know, it's like, Jesus, like, Spanish Inquisition much? Shit, okay, fine, whatever you say, just sign my paper so I can get the fuck out of here. So obvious when you go to those things what they're trying to do. Have you guys ever been to AA? Okay, if you voluntarily went, then we can talk. Because you probably are lonely, you probably have problems. That guy was like strikingly good looking. I mean, see, here's the thing. There's this idea that gay, it means gay. Like, you have to be either gay or straight. Well, only in this society recently have we come up with that. That's called monogamy. What we are is we're polyamorous, meaning that there is no gay, there is no bisexual, it's just like whatever you're into at that moment. Hey man, when you're 6 or 12 years old, you might be into dudes. When you get older, you might be into chicks. When you might be older, who knows? You know, it doesn't matter. But obviously, the concept of being with just one person your entire life was a myth, was a farce, was a lie, a fairy tale, if you will. They pretended, like your grandparents, you know, grandpa had girlfriends, and who knows what grandma did. I think they were just pretty much miserable. That's what grandma did. See, here's how it went. See, grandma, what they did was they cooked. They learned to eat. They learned that food was just as good a high as sex, right? We know this. How do we know this? You guys never seen When Harry Met Sally? She declares it. It's better than it. Everybody wants what she's eating. It's better than sex. And you've heard people say that. They'll say, oh man, you have to try this food. It's orgasmic. So what grandma did, way back when they were telling you one man, one woman, and they pretended that they didn't have any, you know, that grandpa or dad didn't have girls on the side or family members or cousins, who knows. But something happened, because we're humans. But the women we know learned to cook. And they learned to cook really unhealthy food. Their goal was to say, hey, I want to make food taste better. You know, I want little Jimmy I want him to eat all of his vegetables, right? I want him to eat all his vegetables and meat. And the way I'll do it is I'll bribe him with some pudding. So you're getting him to eat all this carbohydrates and potatoes and a little bit of meat, and then here's some pudding. And so that's kind of how the grandma started doing it, and they started making the food taste really good. You know, have you ever, everyone said, oh, grandma's macaroni and cheese was the best. Well, of course it was. It was just nothing but carbohydrates. There was no protein in it. It was just cheese and pasta and grains. Although my grandma's was the best. It was awesome. because she'd put bread on top of it, she'd cut it, and then she'd put it in the oven. And so she'd toast it. So then after it was baked and all this stuff, then it had a nice toasty layer on top. Ah, it's wonderful. Anyways, but the problem was, I was a fat kid. Makes you fat. But hey, makes you happy, right? You've heard that, comfort food. Well, why do you call it comfort food? Comfort food, I mean, that's more like a drug. I mean, that's not like an opiate. What could you eat that would make you feel, you know, blissful? And right, comfort food. It's usually carbohydrate stuff, right? Pies or things that grandma used to make. Heavy calories with lots of carbohydrates and very low protein and lots of fat. And that got grandma high. That's how grandma dealt with grandpa, fucking whoever. And at the end of the day, they stayed married for 80 years, yay! Right? Meanwhile, grandma taught your grandparents really shitty eating habits. And then those grandparents, you know, grandma and the daughters kept teaching the daughters how to cook, right? Grandma taught grandma. Your grandma taught your mom, yep. And your dad's mom. Your dad's mom fed your dad's whatever she was taught by her grandma, which was comfort food. And what's comfort food? Right, it's food that puts you in a state of bliss. Food that makes you feel better. Because why? Because great fucking grandma was depressed as shit. And she wasn't allowed to go to bars or do cocaine while grandpa was off partying at the club with all the hookers. Look it up. That's kind of how it went down back in the 1920s, 1800s. Women were not allowed in bars. They stayed home, and the men would go out. I mean, very common for men to have mistresses. So what did grandma do? Right. They didn't have the internet, so she ate food. And if she stayed thin, she probably was bulimic like they were in the Roman days. That never went away. I mean, what else is there to do when you're a billionaire and you have everything? You're gonna not eat? You're not gonna eat the most delicious foods in the world? Right. So they eat. Grandma probably had an eating disorder, or if she wasn't, she was really fat. And she whispered all the little secrets of eating to your grandmother, who then whispered it to your dad's mom, or your mom's mom, and then they told your mom how to cook all that good comfort food. And the mom says, here, eat this. This is healthy. I want you to drink a big glass of fresh squeezed orange juice with no pulp, some toast with butter on it, some cottage cheese even, and some fruit. And also, hey, how about a stack of, 2 whole grain pancakes, a vegan smoothie, and we don't really like you eating meat, but you can have 2 pieces of sausage. That's it. That's ridiculous. That's a ridiculous breakfast. Right. Oh no, my mom's best woman, it's even higher. So it's a good chance if you have a mom, she's fat. And she taught you how to eat. And here's Jedi Rich telling you to eat the exact opposite. Don't eat fruits and vegetables. Eat beef. Now, there might be a time when we could have eaten more of the raw fruits and vegetables like back in the day, like if you could find them. But the fact is, we did not evolve like that as humans. I know, I'm a biologist. I study biology. I hate to throw that out there, but you guys don't know who I am. And it was so long ago, I got my biology degree, I might as well let you know. Yeah, so the basis of biology is evolution. So, if you, which is why, right, Christians are so fat. Because they don't understand science, they don't understand evolution. They might understand, they can copy it just like, just like a Christian, there can be a Christian heavy metal band. They can copy it, but they don't quite get it. Because they don't really have any restrictions on their diets and et cetera, et cetera. I don't know. You tell me why they're so fat. Is it because they always serve cake at birthday parties? Or they just have lots of birthday, I don't know. Anyways. So in the Midwest, yeah, I'm coming around to my point. In the Midwest, like in Iowa and whatnot, what you'll find is you'll have a lot of Christians. I don't think that's a secret. I think that everyone knows that, Iowa and those are the kind of red states in the Midwest there. The farmer states are very, very Christian-based states. And they sell corn. They sell the shit I'm telling you not to eat. Right. Jedi Rich is the Antichrist, as far as they're concerned. Because if it's up to, I'm saying don't even feed the shit to the cows. Look what it does to the cows. It makes them obese, fast. Go to the store and look at it. Now, when we talk to the farmers here, and they're saying stuff, and they're telling us how they raise it, well, they're not interested in making the cow as big as possible, as fast as possible. The farmers here, the ranchers here that we've talked to, they're interested in just following the principle. Well, some of them are just following the principles, others are doing it for religious reasons. Who knows what their reason is? But their cows are smaller, right? So I'm eating smaller cows. So I'm getting smaller. Makes sense, right? If I ate the obese cows, I'd be getting bigger, and that's exactly what happened to me. So, because I started getting really lean, I was like, oh, this is great. I wonder if I could eat some of this other beef here. This 80-20 beef, a little more fat on it. Because it would taste better. And I don't know, it just kind of fills you up more, you don't feel as lean. Who knows? Sugar addiction it works in mysterious ways. And guess what happened after a week? Well, you can look at the photos. I posted it online. I got kind of chubby. And you won't notice. You're like, oh, you don't look chubby there, or maybe you will think that. But if you look at the previous picture the week before, you can see that I was clearly, I look more human. I look more like how you'd see, like, when you see the guys in like the Roman statue days, just kind of like the old athletes and whatnot, just like a male body, right? But then, when I started eating the 80-20, a little more fat in my diet, I started getting just like bigger, just a little bit bigger. So, the more fat you eat, the bigger you're gonna get. I don't know if that's a secret, but it seems to be. Because people think on this all protein diet or this keto diet, you can eat as much fat as you want. Sky's the limit. No, it's not. You really do. You have to watch your fat intake. You have to be very, very careful. What a day. This is a very interesting vlog. I don't know how many guys were here at the beginning of this, but I started off talking about grass-fed beef, and then some guy basically accosted me. He was coming from the side of me and threatening to spit on me. Well, I was doing a blog, and there was people around, and so I just reacted naturally, whatever I did. I don't really recall. I do know that I basically told the guy to go fuck himself. Because, I don't know. Yeah, and the reason why was because the guy in the yellow shirt, who eventually, see, most people are like that. People in Manhattan, they just eat out, they choose to eat on the sidewalk to be seen. How's that? You could eat inside. Plenty of room. They all want to eat outside. It's just kind of one of those places where people just don't mind being on camera, except for a few people. So, and those people are usually, well, like in this case, I wasn't even filming the person. And most of the time I wouldn't film someone that they didn't want me to either anyways. Guys kind of walking right behind me. That's what these are helpful for, if someone runs up behind you there. So yeah, so it was quite an adventure at the beginning of this vlog. So we had a little standoff there. And I don't know if I handled it appropriately. You guys comment below, let me know. I mean, maybe I could have just walked away. Although he was following me. That's how I knew, because he was behind me, see? I was walking and he was starting coming behind me, and then all of a sudden, like, you don't want me on camera. I'm like, dude, well now you are on camera, because now you've stopped me and now you're yelling, and now, you know what I mean? Just basically an idiot, so, I don't know. But then the other guy on the little bicycle had to intervene into somebody else's argument. Can you imagine that? Can you imagine? Think about that. Go back and watch the video at the beginning. And what happens is that after me and this fucking homeless guy, so two crazy people fighting, right? Have an altercation. Some little fucking 28, 30-year-old little generation, whatever, in a bright orange shirt and jeans on his bicycle, rides by and says, "Would you stop antagoning everybody?" And he says, "You are just," and I was like, as he's biking away, I'm like, what are you talking about? A, why are you getting involved in my argument with someone else? Because you don't even know the whole situation. B, what a little shithead to ride by to antagonize me and then keep going. So what he was saying was, don't go around antagonizing people. But that's exactly what he did. He already knew that I was upset. I could have been a crazy person, right? But he chose to intervene, which would give him no benefit. And I'm only mentioning this because let's talk about things, man. Let's talk about human nature. Let's talk about human psyche. Let's talk about why people do things. Would have given him no benefit. He just wanted to be a bully. He just wanted to be an oppressor. Guys like that probably have they want to have jobs where they, you know, are a police. He probably works in a risk department or something where he's reprimanding people constantly. And in my experience, in large corporate organizations, that sort of negative energy is not something that brings people to their greatest. In fact, a guy like that, while he might be perfect on his SATs and he might have a perfect resume and never committed a crime in his life, that one person right there will absolutely diminish the output of your entire workforce, especially if it deals with creativity. But no matter what, a man like that is what's called a demotivator. So that's my input on him. And so and sometimes these things happen. Like the reason why maybe I got in an argument with the guy on the street, there's no reason to that. But maybe the reason was because he had to kind of come out. Like I had to see him so you and I could talk about it. See that? Because we don't want to be like that. You know, we don't want to, I mean, come on, you see two people arguing on the street, you're going to fucking interject and take sides with two people you don't know? Not only is that just presumptuous and rude, but he was making a judgment. He somehow judged the other guy, like he was just, you know, again, he just wanted to be a dick. So guys like that, when you find that, you know, that's the one in your organization you want to get rid of or never hire if you can avoid. If you have them in your organization, fire them immediately. You have to. You'll never get rid of them because they've weaseled themselves in there. And expect a lawsuit when you do fire them, trust me. But you got to get them out there if you want to save your business. Otherwise, they'll bring the entire organization down. Man, what a great day in Manhattan. So, let's see, we covered the grain-fed food. Did we harp on that enough yet? It's very important to understand that the USDA is the Department of Agriculture. In the 1800s, by Abe Lincoln, with the purpose to boost agricultural sales. Sure, the farmers were taking a big hit after the Civil War. And agriculture, for 90%, the U.S. Department of Agriculture was formed. Its goal, obviously, increase agricultural sales. One of their ideas they had was they adopted a set of recommendations that were established by a doctor in the Midwest who published a book as a farmer's bulletin saying, hey, here's what you need to do. You need to eat like all these other foods. You need to eat dairy, you need to eat grains, you need to eat vegetables and fruit. You need to have, butter and cheese and jellies, all this stuff, and just a little bit of meat, right? And what the idea was, you eat that, and then just watch how much you eat. Just count your calories, so you don't get fat. 1800s, the USDA said that's a great idea because you know what? If we break this up, we can sell more grains, bread, dairy. Because now everybody will be eating more of that food. That was 100 years ago. Part of that was grading beef. To sell more beef, they wanted it to taste better and be more tender. So to make it more tender, they found that by feeding it grains, it got the cows fatter faster. Fat cows, obese cows, have more fat in them, they're more tender. So the USDA says, oh, that's prime. Whereas organic beef and grass-fed beef has less fat. So it's not as tender. It's not as, I think it's delicious because my tastes have adjusted, but you would probably think that it's not as flavorful because it doesn't have as much salt and fat in it. But once you get used to eating beef again, the extra fat tastes like extra fat. Yeah, I don't know why we ran into that guy out there in the street, guys. You tell me. Sometimes I wonder why these things happen, Here we are just walking down the street doing a blog. And that little shithead on the little bicycle, oh man. Too bad I had my camera faced around, you guys could have seen him. He was a little shit. It's so funny. Man. Thing is, you really okay, so here we are. This is the Madison Square Garden. You guys recognize that? Well, anyways, so maybe I'll just hide this whole video here because, quite honestly, I don't like all that aggression on my channel. I mean, even if I'm in the right, it's just not something I'm proud of. So that's why I keep bringing it up because I'm not into it. But when someone bullies you, I mean, what are you supposed to do? Most of my life, I just backed down. I would just kind of let it happen. What I found wasn't the best way to go through life. Makes you go in circles. You know, makes you not feel good about yourself. Lets a guy like that think that he's better than you, you know, in your own head. So you have to learn to stand your own ground, even at the risk of getting spat upon.